Yo, what's going down, Green Screen Entertainment fans? It's your boy Jay Green right here with the future Mrs. Green. And we done just got out of The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Now, before we jump into this official review, talking candidly and all that jazz like we did last week, we're going to kind of break down a little bit of how we felt about the previous Conjuring films and even some of maybe the spin-off films just real quick. So, babe, what do you think about all the other Conjuring movies, any Annabelles, the spin-offs, stuff like that? How you feeling about those?
I like them all. The Conjuring 1 is for sure my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a classic, good horror movie.
Facts.
2, I enjoyed, but it kind of follows the same storyline. It's like the first Conjuring, but still a quality good movie. The spin-offs I like. I feel like they're not as well made. I feel like they're more of like the horror movies nowadays that come out, and they're not really scary, and it's
So maybe it's just more like jump scares.
Yeah,
story.
just jump scares. Yeah.
Okay.
Jump scares.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll say definitely The Conjuring 1, I think, was something that came out in a drought of great horror films. It kind of had that old school vibe to it, a little bit of possession feel. But the one thing that I love about it was definitely grounded in more of a reality. Mm-hmm. And not just because they're based on true stories, quote unquote, but because they didn't really use a whole lot of effects. But then the effects that they did use were very old school, a little bit more practical. It took its time to let you see what was jumping off. And if you watch the behind the scenes of how it was made, you understand that they really crafted everything for that eerie and suspense throughout the entire film. And then when it hits, boy, shit hits you for real.
Which works, because that was the first movie in a while that actually made me scared to go to bed.
Yeah. Now, when you saw the first Conjuring, in the beginning, they had that little Annabelle sequence. Was that creepy as shit or what?
Yes.
Yeah. So that Annabelle spinoff, the original one, I remember I seen it with some of my homies, and we were in the theater having a great time with it. It's not a good movie though, but I had a great time with it. Did you see that one, the first one? I think it was just called Annabelle.
A while ago, but I don't really remember it that well.
So they had that first Annabelle. Like I said, I enjoyed it, had a good time in the theater. I own it, but it's not a good movie. Then later on, they had Annabelle Creation, which kind of reinvented the little how do you call it, prequel to Annabelle in a sense, that origin story to Annabelle. And that one was much better. And that was actually made by the same director that did Lights Out, right? I think it was David Sandberg or something like this. And he was the same director that made some small little indie film that won a bunch of awards. It was out on YouTube, maybe in 2013 or something like this, called Lights Out or whatever like that. But he was a really good director. So the thing that I loved about The Conjuring and what it brought to the horror community, if you will, that we had been missing for a while, was kind of a fresh look from a newer director. James Wan, the director of Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2, was a newer guy. He had his own kind of fresh vision. You could see a lot of Martin Scorsese in Goodfellas and all those tracking shots. And you don't really see that a lot in horror films, right? The great character development. David Sandberg kind of brought us that with Annabelle. And then there was that Nun spinoff, which I thought the Nun was a legit character they introduced in The Conjuring 2. Hella creepy ass shit. But I thought the movie was garbage.
Yeah, I didn't
like that movie was terrible. And then I think that's the only one. A lot of people thought that they were going to do that Crooked Man. I don't know if you remember Conjuring 2. They had a little Crooked Man. He was kind of tight, but they didn't end up going with that one, which I kind of would have rather probably seen that over the Nun, especially given what they did with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, that's our preliminary breakdown of all the previous Conjuring films. In the end of the day, the Conjuring films are following Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're going around, they're doing a whole bunch of hocus pocus, magical type stuff, mystical, demonistic type shit. They're trying to solve problems for families. And I think that's where the Conjuring essence and the love that you have for Conjuring usually lies, is with them. It's not necessarily the families or the people they're encountering, because we're not following them. We might be following their story, but we're really following Ed and Lorraine's
relationship.
Their relationship, kind of their daughter, what's going on with all that and sort of stuff like this. And speaking of which, that Annabelle Comes Home movie that was kind of showcasing her daughter, if I'm not mistaken, that's sort of that was trash too. But anyways, back to The Conjuring. So
that was the one with the orphans?
Orphans, no. I don't think it had orphans in it.
There was...
I think she had some friends coming over to the crib.
Yes.
And Lorraine went out on a date night or some shit like that, and then they started messing around.
Oh, that one. Yes.
Her friend comes in there. Always a stupid ass friend. What are you doing? Anyway, so this movie right now, do you want to try to break down kind of what this movie was? You can't spoil nothing. And it's hard.
You do the breakdown this time.
Okay.
I did it last time.
So the breakdown for this movie, I'm going to say it like this. You got Ed and Lorraine Warren. As we see in the trailers, some little white dude killed somebody, and he's talking about the devil made me do it. We've heard this story 1,000 times on Dateline and shit, Unsolved Mysteries and shit. The devil made me do it. My house was talking to me. Whatever. They always get away with murder. So he's on trial for this. They end up reaching out to a priest to talk to him about it. I take that back. Let me back up for a second. In the beginning of the film, I guess his girlfriend's little brother was possessed. And in trying to save him, he tells the demon that's possessing him, take me instead, right?
Right.
And so that's what ends up happening. The demon comes inside him, makes him do some crazy shit, kills someone. Now he's on trial for that. And now, in order to try to prove his innocence, that the devil made him do it, Ed and Lorraine Warren are kind of like going back in time, if you will. Not back in time, but like
starting from the beginning.
They're starting from the beginning of the little brother's possession to his possession and all of that jazz, trying to find information that they could showcase to a judge and jury to hopefully get this dude off.
Yes.
Now, that's basically the plot. I'm not going to tell you how it goes and how it all went down. Apparently, it's based on true stories. Babe, what did you think about this movie? Your first thoughts going through and then coming out of the theater. We just seen this movie tonight. We're filming this right now, Friday evening.
I liked it.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I have mixed feelings about it. I feel...
Let's unpack that. Mixed feelings. What does that mean?
I feel like the more I let it sit with me, granted it's only been sitting with me for about 45 minutes, the more I like it in a sense.
Okay.
I feel like while I was watching it, it felt very long. It felt like there was a lot of stuff going on that, like maybe too many stories going on at once. Like, yes, they all connected, but it just felt like there was just a lot happening and it was kind of hard to keep track of it. Whereas in Conjuring 1 and 2, I like that it's kind of a basic story. This person's possessed, they're trying to help, and they're trying to get rid of the demons. This movie was like, almost felt like a action horror movie at some points. Like, it just had a lot going on. And there were points where I was like, this movie's a little longer than it probably needs to be. But in the end, I liked it. It felt like the ending made it feel like the series was completed. I felt like, and you kind of felt like Ed and Lorraine, because you love them so much, they're like, they're done, they're at peace. So it had a nice ending.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it maybe wasn't as scary. It was a different type of scary. It was a type of scare. The Conjuring 1, I was like creeped out.
Definitely.
And like looking around the house like, oh my God, what? Like creeped out to go to bed. This one kind of left me with a very uneasy feeling. Like that kind of scary.
Okay.
Like it just didn't sit well.
All right.
With me.
Okay.
But overall, I liked it. Wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it.
Okay. So I'm going to piggyback off of a lot of what you just said. I did like the movie, but I have a lot of mixed bag feelings as well. One, I was looking it up right now, and this movie's, it's just under 2 hours. So I think it's kind of...
God, it felt longer than that.
I think it's kind of typical Conjuring, volume length. But I do feel like the first and the second Conjuring went a little bit quicker. And maybe because like what you were talking about where it's like, there was only like one kind of finite direction it was going, one storyline. It seemed a little bit faster paced because there's the characters involved in that direct storyline and we're with them like the entire time. And pretty much every time you turn your head in the first and the second one, something is leading into something else specific to the story. Either characters developing that possession or they're going more and more crazy or whatever like this. Or there's a twist like in part 2. You've probably seen part 2 by now. Or at one point in time, that one like reporter chick or whatever like this is like, oh, she's faking it, blah, 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 blah. Right? And then it's a little bit of a mystery in part 2 as to like what's really going on with the person, the old dude in the crib in the house, right? This movie, it did feel like it was dragging at times, But as I'm looking back at it right now, I don't feel like it was dragging for no reason. I just feel like for some odd reason, it just felt super slow. Something was up with the pacing.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it, so I'm not going to hate on it completely. I'm just going to say it was a bit of a mixed bag. The other thing I'll say to your point, as far as like the different storylines, I feel, and we're not trying to spoil the film, but this movie is what I give it credit for. And what could have been a downfall was that it felt like a completely different direction from the other Conjuring movies in particular. So for the first one, Ed and Lorraine Warren, they go to the house. They're dealing with this, the house being haunted, possessed, if you will. In the second movie, this girl's kind of haunted and possessed, if you will. And they're dealing with that or whatever entity was in the house prior to that that's now harassing this young chick. In this film, we're dealing with kind of, let's just say, someone kind of pulling the strings, if you will, in regards to what may have made this dude kill this person and made someone else kill somebody.
Right.
And the person that's kind of pulling the strings has their own rhymes and reasons, but I don't feel like we ever got a real understanding of what it was. Like,
no, I think that's where it kind of like,
Yeah.
you're like, I don't get like,
so
it
so
just,
so I think like when that was maybe something that might have made it harder to watch in that sense of making the flow, because I know as I'm watching, I'm trying to connect the dots. Like, all right, why is this person doing this, and how are they doing it to this person over here and that person over there? Like, why them?
Right.
And we never fully get that answer and that understanding.
and I think maybe that's why it felt long and all over the place, because there were times where I was sitting in the movie and I'm like, is it just me? Like, I was wondering if you were getting it. I'm like, is it just me? Like, why am I not putting this all together? Like, it's just a lot to take in.
Yeah.
And granted, I mean, I'm sure they felt like was it the same director?
No, it was a different director.
I feel like and if you're going to make a Conjuring 3, they would have gotten flack, I'm sure, if they tried to do another possession. Like, I get why they kind of...
Yeah, but in the end of the day, they might have gotten flack for doing another possession thing. But technically, even though there was someone like behind the scenes kind of like manipulating the possession, it was still like demonic. And it was still, someone was possessed enough to do what they was doing.
Right.
It's not like that person like, drugged them or some shit like that and was like, do this. So they're still dealing with the demonic possession, right? So yeah, I think that was one thing. The other thing that I felt was like the original Conjuring films in regards to part 1 and part 2, there's a lot more practicality. Like, these are supposed to be based on true events. With every movie you watch that says based on true events, they're always going to take liberties. Like, there's always times where someone's like in a room, you're like, you have no idea what that person was actually saying.
Yeah.
So they're just taking liberties with that, and that's okay. But as the first Conjuring comes out and the second one comes out, they're really trying to ground it to like an Unsolved Mystery episode or a Dateline episode. Like, yo, this shit really jumped off. Right. So I like that. This one I feel was like going a little bit over the line in regards to what the previous films have done. Even the Annabelle movie, even Annabelle Creation, the doll itself is never doing anything. It's just kind of like a demon spirit around the doll, and the doll's really creepy. But this one kind of like went a lot like further in regards to people getting all twisted up and then they're okay, and then like someone jumping through this or going through that, dead bodies coming alive.
It wasn't as believable in a way.
Like dead bodies are coming alive, and it's like, again, this person is kind of pulling the strings. I don't give a goddamn if you got like a voodoo doll and shit.
Right.
Like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
All over like the county.
Which is why I think it wasn't. That's probably another reason why it wasn't as scary. Because I feel like, I mean, granted, we won't go into what we believe or anything like that. But if this is based on true events, the first 2 Conjurings, were, like we said, were very straightforward in their stories. So who doesn't love a good possession horror movie? Like,
it's always a good time.
Keep it classic, but it is believable because it's based on true events. Whether you believe those things happen or not, I think they could happen, but it is what it is. So it's more believable. This one wasn't, because they went so far, like all over the place, it wasn't as believable. So maybe not as scary.
Yeah. The other thing that I'll say in regards to like, the believability leading into like the tension that you get is one thing that James Wan is great at. the director of the first two Conjurings, and that he stated is that he wanted the set design, right? The houses that they were in, the locations that they were at, to be very particular in order to deliver the right amount of tension and then blow you up with that scare. In this film, I feel like even though it was like 2 hours long, and even though they're covering kind of like a little bit of a murder mystery, if you will, and all that type of sinister shit, this movie doesn't really take its time. It takes its time to an extent where you're like, okay, I'm kind of creepy, but for whatever reason, again, I can't put my finger on it, but for whatever reason, the way that this movie chose to do some of the direction, the sets are the sequences are really cool. There's some really creepy ones, but I'm like predicting everything that's jumping off. And maybe because we just watched the first two Conjurings this week in preparation for the third one, but it shouldn't matter because we've both seen the first two. We watched the first one and watched the second one and we're still creeped out.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching, if you've seen the second one, that scene when she's like, it's in the daytime and she's watching the TV and then you see his like silhouette in the reflection of the TV. Yeah. That still was like, oh shit. Like I'm just fascinated by that direction style and like the way that all played out. And I remember how I felt in the theater. I should feel that way with this one, and it's a brand new movie.
Right.
And I feel like it was just like, it was too easy to predict, okay, that guy's there. He's going to turn around real slow. It just didn't have that truly creepy, original Conjuring vibe, and I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that I think they did a decent job with the scares. Like, they weren't, I don't think they were, I didn't think they were predictable. Like, I thought that they did a good job with, like.
Of course you didn't think they were predictable.
Well, there were some parts where, like, I was on the edge of my seat, and things didn't jump or pop or come out when you thought they would. Like, they kind of let it linger. Mm-hmm. So I felt like it was similar in the sense to the first two, where it wasn't, like, predictable scares for me. Personally, everyone's going to be different.
It wasn't too far off, but I'm a super duper like horror movie fan, so I think that maybe it was just me like really, maybe I'm nitpicking. Maybe I'm nitpicking because I'm such a big fan of The Conjuring. I love horror movies, and I'm really like looking for those like moments of like tension, let the tension go, and then they come and get you or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about the way that maybe some of the characters acted. I got to compare this to the first two Conjuring films. I feel like characters act in realistic ways based on what they're seeing for the first time, the second time, or whatever time. Case in point, let's take Conjuring 2. There's a scene in The Conjuring 2 where, you know, the kids are waking the mom up talking about, hey, there's some shit jumping off in the bedroom. The mom goes in there like, y'all are tripping. Get your asses back to bed. Next thing you know, the dresser whoosh slides across the floor and she's like, her face is like just white like a ghost. Then they cut to a scene where they're running out the house to the neighbor's house. Like, that's a valid response. I remember seeing that in the theater. Everyone has that moment of scare with like, oh my God, did you see that dresser just fly across the room? And then everyone has that moment of levity with like, I would have got the fuck out the house too. I love that scene. In this film, there's a scene towards the end, we're not going to say specifically what happens, when this chick's boyfriend is like floating in the air, talking about, he's like, you know, his body's all twisted and shit like that. You got the priest in there talking about, the power of Jesus compels you, all that type of shit.
Right.
And she's there talking about, oh my God, Andy, are you okay?
Oh my gosh, I thought the same thing. I thought
the
same
fuck out of the room. What are you doing?
I literally thought that in the moment when she was like, oh my God, Aaron, or whatever his name was. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to lie. I love him with all of my heart. But if he was floating in the air, I might be out.
I loved you. Bye. I'm out.
I'll come back when you're done floating in the air and not possessed anymore. But I wouldn't stick around and be like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, he can't hear you. Because in
the end of the day, I can understand if she like jumped into the corner or something like that and was like cowering like, oh my God, this is fucking crazy. Yeah. Yelling from the corner. But she like right up in his face like it's all good.
Right.
Like she ain't minding that 6 foot distance or nothing. Like he cool. I'm like, nah, I'd have been out of there. Then you got when they're talking to the sheriff and whatnot, and the sheriff's like, you know, a little skeptical as he should be, and they kind of prove like, hey, yo, we know what we're talking about, da 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 da. But then at the end, when they kind of resolve things, the sheriff goes to this gravesite, like it's all sentimental, like he knows the person that died, and he didn't even know it. It's just
weird.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't be sentimental for someone that dies in your community and you're the sheriff. I'm just saying you didn't know her. Why are you trying to make it seem sentimental, right? I just feel like there was like certain things that characters did in the film that
even
were
the last, like one of the last scenes, I was like, okay, that was really corny. You didn't have to do that.
What was that last? I think I know what you're talking about. Was it the gazebo thing?
Oh no, I really liked that. That was really sweet. No, I'm talking about when he's like, I don't know if I can say it. When he's like, I forgot my medicine.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
I think
wait, this is supposed to be the end of like a terrifying moment, and you're gonna throw like a corny. It just felt so out of
So
place.
we're not we're not spoiling anything that's like detrimental to the plot or whatever of the film, but Ed is dealing with some stuff, right? And at one point in time, he forgets his pills, and they're like, "Oh my God, Ed, are you okay?" Right? And then at the end of the movie, when shit is finally kind of resolved, it's all over, it's whatever, and then they're kind of like, posted up, and he's like, his wife says, I can't remember what she says to him, but she says something kind of sly, kind of slick, whatever. And then he's like, "Oh, I forgot my medicine." I'm like, I don't know about that one right there. Like, at the end of every Conjuring movie, there's some kind of like real moment of like, man, Ed and Lorraine, they really doing it right now. They really saving the world.
It did not.
They're showcasing their love.
Cheesy.
And yeah, it was super cheesy, you know what I'm saying? And then I also felt like at the end of Conjuring 2, when, Ed has that moment where he's singing the Elvis song. What's the name of that song?
Oh, I Can't Help Falling in Love with You.
I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, which only again showcases the bond that they've had from 1 to 2. And then in this one, it just kind of ends with them like looking at like some gazebo that he built. Like, I don't know what that was.
Well, because
Did I miss that?
Did you miss that?
I
Did he miss something?
What was it?
So, you know how when they were telling the backstory, when she was like, she was telling the priest, like, did I ever tell you how we met? And then it was raining, so they went to go stand in the gazebo until it was done raining.
Okay.
So then that was obviously special to her, where they like spent their moments under the gazebo, and then she was like, and 30 years later, we're still here. So at the end of all this, he built her a gazebo in the backyard. I thought it was sweet.
Look, real quick, I'm going to tell you like this. In The Conjuring 2, he's singing to this family that is being terrified by a demon possessing the daughter. And in this moment, these moments of terror where they can't get away from this. Any night could be the night that she starts tripping out trying to kill people, right? They have a guitar over there that was left from their father who ditched out on them. So it's a single mom with like 18 little girls and boys or whatever, you know what I'm saying? They want the biscuits and shit. And he says, let me take this guitar. Let me bring some life back into this house for this moment in time. And it was a moment where you got to spend with the family. And he was singing that song. What was it? I Will Always Love You or something like that? What was it?
Wait,
the Elvis song in part 2.
Was it the Elvis song? The Elvis song.
He was singing the Elvis song that they played in the end of the film.
Oh,
so
okay.
I felt like it tied in better because he was singing it for the family. Like, y'all have love. It's okay. Whatever. I'm going to bring some levity to this moment that you're going through. And then in the end of the movie, they're all wrapped up and they weren't even trying to take the case. Remember? They weren't even trying to take the case. She was going through some stuff. Lorraine was going through some stuff. It was like, we can't take no more cases.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what was that the first one?
That was the
second one. It was the second one.
Second
And they're like, we're just going to go, whatever.
Yeah.
So then he's like, hey, you know what? I'm glad we went. I will always love you. Da-da-da. I felt like it wrapped it up better. The gazebo thing, I almost feel like that was fabricated. I could give it less.
No, I felt like it made it complete. Like that was like I feel like that was the symbolism that like they are completely done and ready to live their lives with each other and leave all of that stuff in the past.
I guess kind of.
And it kind of you could see the grays in their hair. I feel like they made that more noticeable.
So you feel like that gazebo scene was basically them saying like, it's just us living our lives from this moment.
Yes.
Or no more ghost hunting and shit like this.
Yes, that's how I felt. That's why I was saying I felt like it wrapped up well. Like it felt like the series was like actually complete because you felt like Ed and Lorraine were like, okay, we're done. Like this is it. It's just going to be us from here on out, growing old together in my gazebo.
Okay. I can get down with that. I don't believe it, but I can get down with that. What I will say is, based on the trailers, I wish we had just really gotten like, you could have given me the scares that we got, but I was kind of hoping for like give me some more action, like just raw, like this kid's going around just killing folks, like just let him be raw, like, you know what I'm saying?
You want it to be more like demon possession, like Exorcist
I wanted him, not necessarily that. What I'm saying is like, in the trailers, this kid's walking on the street. He's got the blood. The cop pulls him over, like, "Hey, what's going on? You cool?" And he's like, "I think I hurt someone." I wanted to see this kid go on like a crazy massacre. I wanted to see him.
Movie.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, like, not a zombie movie, but like in the end of the day, think about that Netflix series. What was it? The Night Stalker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this dude's talking about some satanic shit too. Like, I want to see that. I want to see where these people talk about the devil made me do it. He didn't even ever say that in the damn film.
That would be a
Babe,
completely different movie
babe,
then.
he didn't even say that in the movie. Did he ever say that?
No.
He didn't even say that in the
Just
movie. They lied. They lied to us. They lied to us. I wanted to see him just go on like a straight killing rampage and all this sort of stuff. Because based on the trailers, it looked like Ed and Lorraine were literally fighting for their life. Like every moment they would turn. Real quick, as I'm thinking about it right now, one thing that I did really enjoy throughout the film was it gave me some Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. And let me explain what I mean by that.
I've never really seen actually the full Nightmare on Elm Street.
None of them? Wow, you're missing out. Early Nightmare on Elm Street, super legit. The first one, classic. You're missing out. What I mean by early Nightmare on Elm Street vibes is, and you can tell by the trailer, I'm not spoiling stuff. There's a lot of like, you can call it like hallucinations, if you will. Like the person that's pulling these strings is making the people that are doing shit think that they're in a particular position or they're defending themselves, and that's why they're going after someone with a knife or whatever it may be, right? So that's a lot. That's some Fred Krueger shit. Like, you know, when you go to sleep and you're in the dream, all of a sudden you walk through one door, it looks like you're in a bedroom. Next thing you know, you're in a dungeon or some shit. So I did enjoy that kind of like magical adventure in this, like, you know, demon possessed like underworld, if you will. I did think that was pretty fly. So I think that in the end of the day, I think that the movie had a lot going for it. I thought it had an interesting story.
Did it leave you with an uneasy feeling, or you were just?
I was not left uneasy at all. No.
Oh, interesting.
Not uneasy at all. In Conjuring 1 and 2, I had a little bit of a slight uneasy feeling with certain things. You know, Conjuring 1, I'm a little scared to, you know, go upstairs and shit like that and walk into a room without the lights on. In Conjuring 2, my homie Matt, one time, he let me swoop this old chair from their house when they were moving, and it was his grandpa's chair. You know, and his grandpa, you know, passed away. And I'm not saying he passed away in the chair like the old man in the movie, but it kind of, when I see it, it kind of makes me think of that. I'm like, oh man, no, I don't have it. I gave it away a long time ago, but I like antiquing with my lady and stuff like that. So when you go to places, you always wonder, like, you know, I wonder what this chair has been through. What was in that cabinetry? You know what I'm saying? Who are these people in these old ass pictures? If you ever go to like antique shops, there's a lot of pictures of old people, you know, kids and stuff. And I wonder, like, where are they at now? So it kind of makes me think about that when I see the movie and I kind of get into the world like this. But the bottom line is, in this film, I wasn't left with that uneasy feeling. But I did think that the story was intriguing. It was fun. It was entertaining. Some of the scares were a little bit more jump scare swag, but I still enjoyed them. Still had a good time. I always like seeing Patrick Wilson and Via Farmiga. I think it's how you say her name. They're fantastic. All the acting was great. The movie looks really good. You know what I'm saying? It was framed up really nice, so it's a great movie to look at. The sound design is great, so you get that Conjuring horror movie vibe to it. So I think it's like a well-rounded film. I do think for real cinephiles out there, for people like myself that are a little bit nitpicky or a super big fan of the Conjuring franchise, you'll probably be a little let down because it doesn't have like as fluid of a story as the other ones, but I still think you'll enjoy it enough. I know I'm definitely going to swoop it on Blu-ray to complete the collection. Who do you think this movie is for? Who do you think is going to get something out of this movie? Who shouldn't give this movie any time?
Who is this movie for? I don't know.
You don't know? So like, for instance, your mom, your brother, your dad.
I feel like anyone who likes a good horror movie, I think if you like horror movies, I think that you'll like it. I think if you...
So do you think someone that likes like The Human Centipede or some shit like that, or someone who is infatuated with zombies is going to be into this movie, this one in particular?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, so it's not for anybody that likes horror movies.
Okay.
Give them a recommendation. Who is this movie for?
For people who like demon possession movies.
I would agree. I think it's great for that.
Which I do.
And maybe people that like a little bit of a mystery within their demon possession movies.
Yes.
It does too. It does put a little twist on that demon possession swag.
It does. It does.
Yeah. So your overall thoughts was it was good.
It was good. I liked
it.
it.
Is it worthy of a trip to the theater, or should we wait for it to come out on Blu-ray or on demand, whatever?
I don't think it's... I don't want to say it's not worth a trip to the theater, but I think if you're on the fence, I don't think it's one that necessarily needs to be seen in the theater. I think if you want to watch it on HBO Max,
Boom.
that
Oh yeah, it should be
that
on HBO Max actually. Cause
it is on HBO Max.
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll probably watch it again on TV.
Yeah. So I think if you wanted to forego the theater, I think that you probably could.
So maybe like wine, a burger, nice
Wine,
little
a
movie.
burger, some chocolate,
HBO
a movie,
Max, right?
HBO Max.
Got your little boot thing
Turn
right
the
next to
lights
you.
out.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
I see you. Now, that's our review of The Conjuring 3. What is the next movie that you're looking forward to? Or, because we're talking about horror movies right now, what is a great horror movie recommendation for someone out there to watch? Maybe that's along these lines or something just completely different than this, but a movie that you think is really going to get under their skin. Because I know you like a movie that gets under your skin if it's a horror movie. An intriguing story, something that gets under their skin. What's something that you would recommend? I'm going to give them something and you give them something. Something for them to take home.
I'm trying to think. What is a good horror movie?
You want me to go first?
You go first. I have to think about it.
Okay, so I probably mentioned this movie before, but if you're kind of claustrophobic, you don't like those tight, cramped spaces, The Descent. If you've never seen The Descent, I would consider it a foreign film because I think all these chicks are like Scottish or something like that, or English. I don't know what they are. I know it's completely different, but either way, they got to go into the caves or some shit going on down there. That's a really great one, I would say to check out. And one that's maybe more of a suspense thriller. I've done a review for it on my channel, but back in the day, the video quality and the sound probably wasn't that good, so it's probably cringe. So don't watch that one. But Don't Breathe. I love that movie.
That's a good one.
I love that movie. I would consider that a horror film based on what's jumping off in that film.
That's a good one.
Now, what would you give them a takeaway? Come on, let's get it.
Oh,
What is it? Come on, the clock is ticking. Doom, doom.
Does it have to be like an old horror movie?
It could be anything. It could be anything that you think is like along the lines of under your skin, creepy shit that you want them to check out.
I feel like, aside from I feel like The Conjuring 1 is probably the best horror movie
So go back, revisit Conjuring.
to go back
1.
and revisit. But I feel like the horror movie that came out before that really also freaked me out was the first It.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
That was a good one.
That's a good one. You gotta dim the lights for that one. Turn
Yeah.
the sound all the way up. It ain't playing
That's a
around.
scary one.
Hell yeah. Well, there you go. Now what? Now we said that. So what is the next movie that you're looking forward to in the theaters that we're probably going to end up reviewing?
In the theaters.
What's coming out soon?
What's the next thing to come out?
I don't even know what's coming out soon myself. Actually, let's see here.
I mean, I really want to see In the Heights, but I know you're not going to see that with me.
Look, she took me to see Hamilton, and I really, really enjoyed Hamilton. She took me to see Book of Mormon. I really enjoyed Book of Mormon. I was on the fence of like which one I don't know which I like more. I like musicals. I could get down with Sound of Music. My mom was watching that all the time back in the day, right? But I don't know. Something about like some musical in movies is like just dumb to me. Like when I see
you like The Sound of Music.
I know, but it's I don't know how to explain it.
Did you like The Greatest Showman?
I never saw that. Something I cannot explain it. This is not going to make no sense. I don't have no rhyme or reason for why, but something about a movie musical. Like I watched Hamilton on Disney Plus, and I still thought it was as great as when I saw it live.
Well, so maybe.
But I just something about In the Heights just looks dumb to me. Just the smiley faces look all cheesy and stupid.
Well, since you've said
I don't know
this,
if I can get into it.
think that
Take my
because
mom.
you said this, we should just go watch In the Heights and do a review and see if your opinion changes.
All right, baby.
We gotta put him on the spot on camera.
All right, baby, we'll see. Anyways, y'all, that's our review right now for Conjuring 3. We gave you a little extra, some stuff you should check out, you should watch. I guess we're going to be doing, when does In the Heights come out, though?
June 11th.
Damn. I guess In the Heights is coming up next, so whatever. Anyways.
We'll do Fatherhood. Oh, Fatherhood.
Ooh, when does that come out? I thought it already came out.
In 3 days.
Okay. We're going to do Fatherhood.
Yes.
And we'll do In the Heights for y'all musical fans out there. So stay tuned. All right. Yo, your homie Jay Green. Say your name.
Rachel. Mrs. Green.
All right. Green Screen Entertainment. We out. Deuces.